and welcome to Landscaping Southwest Television. I'm Kristine Cornils, and we're going to help you transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. The Southwest region is unique with its extreme temperature changes, the abundant sunshine, and limited rainfall. Therefore, landscaping can be somewhat more challenging in this area than in other wetter regions of the United States. So on this show, we will be talking with experts who are experienced in successfully landscaping the Southwest. We want to help you create that beautiful outdoor space you've been dreaming about. Join us today on Landscaping Southwest. Hi, I'm Kristine Cornils, and we're so glad you're with us. This is our first episode of Season 2. And in Season 1, we covered a lot of topics on how you can transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. And if you've missed any of those or want to review any of those tips, you can go back to our website, landscapingsouthwest.com, and you can find the videos of our previous episodes. And we also have a Facebook page, Landscaping Southwest Television. You can find some more information there. On this episode, we're going to get a chance to talk to Wes Brittenham of Plants of the Southwest. And I'm delighted to have you with us.
Thank you,
Wes.
Yeah, thanks.
And Wes is actually going to share with us how to winterize your yard and then how to prepare for spring.
Sure.
And Wes, if you could share with us just a little bit about your experiences landscaping in the Southwest.
Yeah, I grew up here in Albuquerque, so I've lived here pretty much all of my life. I've been involved in horticulture in one way or another for about 37 years as a landscape designer, project manager, design, installation, maintenance, both commercial and residential, with an emphasis on xeriscape and native plants for almost the last 30 years. Yeah.
Great, and so you must really enjoy landscaping.
Love
you find
it.
some joys in it.
Yeah. I mean, look at this.
Oh, I know. It's so beautiful. It just so happens to be such a beautiful day that we're filming. And I'm glad you're going to be able to share with us some of these winterizing tips and leading into spring. Is that an area people often forget to think about?
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of confusion or just a lack of knowledge. If you're not doing it for a living, you forget that, things get cold in the winter and your irrigation system needs to be modified. So hopefully in the fall you slowed down the amount that you're watering, maybe shut off your timer in the winter and hand watered or ran your system maybe once a month manually. But now is the time to start maybe preparing your system and get ready for the approaching spring.
Yeah. We're here at Plants of the Southwest. Tell us a little bit about your company here.
Sure. This is a mostly native plant nursery and adaptive. It was started in Gail Haggard, the owner's backyard, in about 1976. So we've been around for almost 40 years. We work with schools, with pueblos, with nonprofits, and with homeowners to create gardens that are xeric, that are native, and also habitat, pollinator, or edible landscape gardens.
Oh, fabulous. Well, I'm excited because I'm going to ask Wes to show us a little bit around here as we talk about winterizing and then preparing for spring. So please stay with us on Landscaping Southwest.
Oh, good.
Well, I am holding an Oya, which is an ancient form of irrigation. It's a clever way to conserve water, and John Bolton of East Central Ministries is going to explain to us what is an Oya and how does it work?
So it's porous clay. We fire it without any glaze, just at the right setting so that water will sweat through it. Once you fill it with water, water will sweat through to the roots of your plants.
And how often do you have to refill it?
Roughly 24 to 48 hours for the water to drop through.
Okay. Can you show us actually an Oya in action?
Sure. So we just planted these the other day. This is one that we just put in.
I can see it's all wet around here.
It is. So we filled it with water about a day and a half ago. So we buried the Oya about 3/4. We're kind of up to the neck so that the neck is exposed for easy access of pouring water into it.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And you can get more information about how to use Oyas and how you can use it in your yard at landscapingsouthwest.com. welcome back. Wes, if you could share with us some of the things that we should be thinking about when we're winterizing our yard.
Sure. I think the biggest thing initially is to remember to cut back the water in the autumn as the temperatures are cooling. You don't want plants to go into winter with too much water in the plant. It can rupture the cells if we get a deep freeze.
Oh, okay.
The timer should be shut off generally around the beginning of February and left in the off position.
You mean of November maybe?
I'm sorry, November. Yes, I said November to February. By the end of February, you should probably be thinking about testing the irrigation system, looking for damage, and thinking of starting to run it again.
Now, do you have to be watering the plants during November, December?
Definitely. If we have an absence of natural rainfall or snowfall, you really need to remember to water your plants at least on a once a month basis.
Okay. For how long? What do you recommend?
Generally, if you're running your irrigation system on a warm afternoon, the typical run time, which would be 45 minutes to an hour, depending. Okay. You don't want to be watering things like cactus, yucca, and agave. The super xeric desert natives really prefer not to have anything but natural precipitation in the winter. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay, so in addition to water, what other things do we need to be thinking about?
Well, if you had a flower bed with tender perennials, you may have wanted to spread some mulch over the ground. You should always have mulch down anyway, but a lot of people will, like in my yard, I let the leaves fall and I just leave them in the flower beds and in the landscape until the spring.
Great, and you're holding a pair of tools in your hand, so what are these for?
Well, these are my hand pruners. I think you can do just about anything with a pair of hand pruners and a 7-inch folding saw. And this is a time of year where probably since November you've been pruning in your garden, whether it's trees, shrubs, perennials. So it's something to do really throughout the winter.
So something kind of all through, you begin the pruning in November, and then maybe if it's a good weather day, you come out again in December. Is that
right? Some plants like pines, piñons, pine trees that are pitchy, that have sap, definitely need to be pruned when they're dormant, when the sap is not flowing.
Okay.
Most deciduous plants, ones that lose their leaves, are pruned during the winter because it's easier to see the structure so that you know what you are taking off.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then some things like roses, which we're surrounded by, are pruned more specifically. When I was a young man starting this business, the Rose Queens taught me that March 15th is when you prune roses. So generally March and April is a rose pruning time.
Can you show us a little bit of how to prune and where to prune?
Sure. Right now we're going to take a look at a shrub rose, which a wild rose is treated a little different than a hybrid tea, but for examples of pruning, we'll just pretend it's a hybrid tea.
Okay, great.
So what we want to do when you're looking at a rose, you want to reduce it down to some sturdy canes at the bottom, so you'll look for buds that are growing in the direction that you want them to, and then prune at approximately a 45-degree angle just above that bud, so that you get growth going out in a number of directions.
And again, how are you picking which bud to
I'm just sort of looking and saying, this is going to grow out and up this way, and all these lateral buds below are going to be stimulated by having the growth above pruned. All the plant energy is going to be going into each one of these buds, so you'll be getting all kinds of new growth. So you can really, take a plant back, and ideally you'd be removing, if this were a hybrid tea, all of these other little branches. Because this is not a hybrid tea, I'm going to leave these because this rose flowers all over the place. The hybrid teas tend to flower on the newer growth out at the top.
Great,
so it just kind of depends on the plant.
And that looks pretty simple as long as we're able to find those buds.
Yeah, very simple.
Okay, great. Now how about a tree?
Okay, so what we're looking at is a New Mexico olive, New Mexico privet, forestier. It's neither an olive nor a privet. It's a very forgiving native shrub. It can be a large shrub or a small tree. So what I'm doing right now is just reducing some of the growth that's coming out into the pathway.
Okay.
We want to keep this plant sort of as a screen. It's nice and bushy at the bottom, but customers coming through here, we just don't.
Explain kind of how you're picking where you're pruning.
So what I'm picking are the horizontal branches that are just kind of growing out into the path, and I'm making a cut very close to the trunk. It's not easy to see on something this small, but trees have what is called a collar and a branch bark ridge. So there's a little line here that shows you not to cut into the tree. A lot of people want to make a flush cut, and that doesn't work. You want to cut a nice circular cut with a sharp pair of pruners so the plant can heal properly.
And it looks like you're cutting it parallel with the with the
yeah,
branch
so
there,
that
too.
so that as close as possible, the cut is circular. That way, the cambial layer can heal like a little donut. It'll just swell up and cover that wound. If you cut it inappropriately, it never heals properly and can have issues with disease or insect.
Well, Wes, thank you so much for giving this demonstration, and we'll be right back to share with you more on Landscaping Southwest.
Thank you.
Well, we're here with Catherine Uhas, who's the Water Conservation Officer of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. Catherine, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, and we wanted to hear about your Water Smart classes. What are those?
Oh, well, this is a great class. Our customers who attend really, really like it. They learn a lot. It's a 1-hour class that we offer throughout the irrigation season, once a month. And our customers who attend get a $20 credit on their bill just for coming and listening to us for an hour.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have to sign up ahead of time?
No, it's offered out at the Workforce Training Center. And we offer 2 classes. The first one is for lawn watering, and then the second is drip irrigation. They cover the same sorts of ideas, but there's, just a little different focus. So if you came for the first class and didn't get in, you could always hang out for an hour and get into the second one.
Oh, okay. And do customers, so they benefit from that water credit, but do they benefit other ways as well?
Well, they do. The whole point of the class is to teach our customers about efficient irrigation. And we have seen that customers who come to our classes have reduced their water use 20% more than our customers who don't attend a class.
Wow, that's a significant amount.
It is. It's a significant amount. It's great for our aquifer, and it's great for the customer because it's helping them with that, increased water bill that you have during the irrigation season.
Great. Well, thank you, Catherine. Well, if you haven't been to one of those Water Smart classes, please consider doing that. And if you're not within this Water Utility Authority area, check with your local water utility and see if they have classes as well. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Landscaping Southwest. We're with Wes Brittenham of Plants of the Southwest. And Wes, thank you for showing us pruning several different types of plants. And now, as we're looking into preparing for the spring, what sort of things do we need to be considering?
Well, I think one of the most critical things is to examine your irrigation system to be sure it's functioning properly, no breaks, no leaks, no problems or anything like that. So why don't we take a look at some drip irrigation? We can talk about that in detail.
Sure. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to look at here is the drip system. In the spring, you want to be sure that your system hasn't degraded or been damaged over the winter. So you'll just turn it on, hook up the hose, however your system is actuated, and verify that the drip emitter is actually producing water from the emitting port the way that it should. If you're one of those people that lives in the outlying areas where you have rabbits and coyotes, for example, they know that your timer comes on at 9 o'clock in the evening, and they will come chew this off to make a nice little drinking fountain. So it's always good to periodically throughout the season, let alone in the early spring, just to hook it up, start it running, and verify that it's all.
So you look for little bite marks probably, huh?
Yeah, in my yard it's the raccoons, so they just chew it, and it's great. I'll have these little pinholes. For the folks in high desert, some areas of Corrales or Sandia Heights, quite often the rabbits and the coyotes will just pull this entire emitter off.
Oh my goodness.
So it's just like a drinking fountain. So you always want to be sure that you're not wasting water and your system is functioning appropriately.
So as soon as you turn it on in the spring, you need to go around to every single emitter and,
just
do that
physically,
check.
And that's why drip systems are usually kept above ground a little bit. Some people don't like to see them, so they'll hide them under mulch. But this actually makes physically inspecting it fairly nice. Now this one you can see is within the shrub, so it's on the root ball, and when this is leafed out, this is not obnoxious. You don't have to see it.
I see.
One, we may cover it with mulch later, but it's beneficial to have them where you can access them for visual inspection.
Well, thank you. And I also want to talk to you about seeds and preparing seeds for the spring, too.
Oh, yeah. It's getting nigh on time to plant your garden, so we can do that. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Great. Now, Wes, one of the main things that we all love to do in the spring is planting seeds. Can you show us how to do that?
Yeah. So now we're getting ready to start the cool season garden. So what we have here are some seed starter trays. Some people like to just go directly into the ground, but for some people this is a lot easier to start a seed on a windowsill. So we just have a little pot with some potting soil. And here, let me dump out some seeds here. These are snow peas, one of the early cool season things. So let me give you 3. And what we'll do is we'll just poke a little hole in there, and we'll stick, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just poke each seed into the ground, 3 of them in a pot. And as a child, I learned this silly little rhyme, 1 for the weather, 1 for the crow, 1 little seed left to grow. So you always hedge your bets by planting 3 little seeds in a pot. So now is the time for snow peas, carrots, radishes. You think leaf and root at this time of year. So for your salads, spinaches, kales, chards, lettuces, all of that stuff is just about ready to go. In February, it can go out into the ground, but at this time of the year, you might want to start them 4 to 6 weeks ahead of outdoor planting time in a container on your windowsill.
Okay, and this time of year, we're talking to you in January, or in the beginning of February.
So February, generally 4 to 6 weeks before you can put them outside, you can start them inside.
Okay.
So winter is also an excellent time just to plan your garden, what you want to be eating come the growing season.
Sure.
And also, I think one nice thing about our seeds is they're all open pollinated.
Here, should we do this one too?
Sure, go ahead, Yep. Non-genetically engineered, non-genetically modified, so you should be able to harvest some of the seed from the packet, save it, and plant it next year. I've been planting the same corn and green beans since 2000, 1 packet.
Oh my
I've never
goodness.
had to buy them again, so.
Wow, that's great. Well, and that's fabulous for people who really are concerned about what they're eating.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
And what do you have to do watering-wise now, in February, March timeframe?
We would water these. We would keep the soil medium, the potting medium, evenly damp. So you'd probably be watering it every day, every couple of days. You just feel the surface to see that it was dry, and when it dries out, you just add a little bit of water. Typically, this would be in a tray where drainage wouldn't be an issue. And they're peas. So where do you want to put them in terms of sun? In terms of sun, they would like a spot that would get morning sun and perhaps afternoon shade. Peas are one of the first things to sort of die back as the weather heats up. So if they're planted in a spot that can get some afternoon shade, you can prolong the season. And that would be the same for any of the cool season crops. And then you can start the cool season garden again in August, but we can talk about that later.
Maybe we'll have to come back to a future episode and talk about that.
Yeah, there are a couple of, there's a cool season, and later is the warm season. So in May, we'd be doing, the tomatoes, the peppers, the eggplants, the squash, that sort of thing. But right now, leaf and root.
Leaf and root. And do you mind giving a few examples again? So leaf and root.
Sure. So the root things would be things like carrots, turnips, beets, radishes. The leaf things would be like arugula, chard, kale, lettuces, just that sort of thing.
You're making me hungry, actually, talking about all these things.
Well, then you can have a great salad right outside your back door.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a huge benefit to doing this. Well, great. Well, thank you, Wes, and we'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Catherine Uhas, who's a water conservation officer of the Water Utility Authority here in Albuquerque. Catherine, you offer some xeriscape rebates, I understand. What are those?
Well, it's for removing turf and putting back in native plantings. And so it's not, for taking out turf and putting back in rocks, or taking out your rocks and putting back in native plants. It's got to be grass to native plants.
So the water hogging plants, really.
Exactly.
Native plants. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the rebate credit is $1 per square foot. And so that starts to really be a significant credit on your bill.
Oh, sure.
You take out your front lawn, you get $600 on your water bill. For a lot of our customers, that means they don't pay a bill for a whole year. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, and how far in advance do they need to start thinking about this rebate if they're going to plan to take out their turf and replace it with xeriscape?
Well, you have to talk to us first. Don't do the project and call us later, then there's no money.
Okay.
Call us first.
Important.
And we come out and we see the grass. And at that point, we're going to pick up a copy of your plan, and we're going to tell you how much money you're going to get, so that before you even do anything, what that's going to net you in terms of a credit on your bill.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And also what kind of work and the requirements are that are for the program.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So you give us a call and we'll get you all straight.
And do you have a class too related to Xeriscape?
We do. We offer a class on how to go about applying for the rebate, and then also what the great plants are that you can use. I'm not very good at picking those for myself, but we have a fabulous master gardener, Xeriscape trained professional who will teach a class all about, you know, what to pick, what to put in your yard, what to put in the shade, what's good for sun, all those important
questions
things.
that people have. So, and that's particularly if they're planning on designing it themselves, I imagine.
Exactly. So it's a real do-it-yourselfer type of class.
That's great. Well, Catherine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I am holding an Oya, which is an ancient form of irrigation. It's a clever way to conserve water, and John Bolton of East Central Ministries is going to explain to us what is an Oya and how does it work?
So it's porous clay. We fire it without any glaze, just at the right setting so that water will sweat through it. Once you fill it with water, water will sweat through to the roots of your plants.
And how often do you have to refill it?
Roughly 24 to 48 hours for the water to drop through.
Can you show us actually an Oya in action?
Sure. So we just planted these the other day. This is one that we just put in.
I can see it's all wet around here.
It is. So we filled it with water about a day and a half ago. So we buried the Oya about 3/4. We're kind of up to the neck so that the neck is exposed for easy access of pouring water into it.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And you can get more information about how to use Oyas and how you can use it in your yard at landscapingsouthwest.com. Back to Landscaping Southwest. Wes has been sharing with us some incredible tips for being able to prepare your yard for the winter, and then also what you need to be thinking about during the spring. And Wes, what are some more of the things you'd like to share with us?
Okay, well, I think spring to me is the big cleanup time. I'm not so concerned with cleaning up the garden in the fall and in the winter because it's food for birds and, you know, it looks beautiful, gives you something to look at. But at this time of year, you kind of want to clean up the canvas, get a blank slate. So, for example, this meadow we're standing in, very shortly in the next few weeks, we'll be mowing this meadow down so the grasses and wildflowers can regenerate. It's looked beautiful, but now is the time to just clean it up. So late February, well into March, is time to deadhead your perennials, clean up your flower beds, finish whatever shrub pruning you didn't get done in the winter, and definitely cut back the grasses.
And you're mentioning February, March time frame. Now, I know we have some cold winters here in New Mexico and in Albuquerque where we are.
Sure.
Even up till May sometimes some events happen. What do we need to be thinking about there?
So I think tying that back in also to the vegetables, you know, we start getting requests in February for tomatoes and basil. People you get a beautiful day like this and it's been winter and people want to garden. But though the Weather Service will tell us that April 15th is the last frost date, I say, no, that's tax day. The frost date actually is quite often the first week of May. So you want to be sure that you're not getting too eager with your warm season vegetables. The cooler stuff that we talked about can handle that. And pruning your landscape doesn't matter, but the warm season vegetables, you really want to wait till after the last frost date. So the first week of May, you're generally safe.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for that tip. And if people are uncertain, can they come talk to you or one of your colleagues at Plants of the Southwest for some more information?
Yeah, they can contact us. There are certainly other reliable sources out in the community, but you want to be careful. A lot of people do their homework on the internet these days, and quite often information online isn't really valid in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You know, the research, the weather patterns, the hardiness zones are somewhere else, and so you really need to take everything online with a grain of salt and ask local questions of local people.
So that's where it really helps to talk to somebody who's experienced it, both what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. I like to tell people that Mother Nature is in charge. We can do whatever we want, but Mother Nature plays by her own rules, and it serves us best to try to work with nature rather than against it.
Sure. Okay. Well, and how can people find you and your company?
Well, we're easy to find here by the phone or email or Facebook page. We keep a Facebook page, Plants of the Southwest Albuquerque, where we post pictures of what's going on seasonally, what bugs are out, what birds are out. So Facebook is really a nice educational way that's accessible 24/7.
Right.
Our website, plantsofthesouthwest.com, is for the most part our mail order seed. We do a worldwide seed business. So our website is really set up for the seed business, not so much the nurseries. But as the season progresses, we also have a lovely vegetarian seasonal cafe called The Kitchen at our Santa Fe store. So if you're ever up in Santa Fe, it's just great.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I definitely am going to have to try that. Great. Well, Wes, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And so nice to be able to talk to someone who has such experience landscaping here in Albuquerque. And we're so glad you're with us on Landscaping Southwest. Please join us next time as we help you transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. See you next time.
Thank you.
Great. Nice to be able to have things. It's nice to be able to sit in the middle of all of this meadow, too. Okay. Well, welcome back to Landscaping Southwest. We're with Wes Brittenham of Plants of the Southwest. And before we left for break, Wes was showing with us, sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Start from the beginning or just where I was? Okay, great. Okay.